Order, and we do have a quorum. And if everyone will stand, Greg will lead us in the invocation.
Lord, we thank you for this time here. We thank you for the opportunity to deal with the business of the school and community of Venus. We pray that you will lead us in all that we do, that you will protect this district and look over it, and that the decisions we make will be pleasing to you. We ask all this in your name, our Lord Jesus. Amen.
And Tasha will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, I'd like to welcome all the guests that are here and thank each and every one of you for coming out. We will go to item 4, which is campus recognition. Is it going to be a movie?
It is a movie.
All right.
We're hoping. For those of you that are here, we, in the past, pre-COVID, we would have the students come up here and recognize them in person, but we've started doing this and so that they don't have to get out. And frankly, I think it's kind of cool to see them this way too.
Come on down here, sir. Come on. Oh, he's on the floor. He's gonna get out. Come on down. Price is right.
Jordan Fields, I want to congratulate you on being Venus High School Student of the Month. Y'all show him some love. All right, I gotta read good stuff about you, okay? Okay. Got it right next to my heart. Here we go. All right. Jordan Fields is the voice of Venus High School. As he leads every day the pledges and reads our daily announcements. We just know that he will achieve great things when he leaves us this year. He always reminds us, make it a great day or not, the choice is yours. We appreciate how Jordan helps make everyone's day a little brighter. And I can tell you, this is one of the finest young men I've ever met in my 10 years or so of public education. So, Jordan Fields, congratulations on being named Venus High School Student of the Month.
Come on down here, sir. Come on. Oh, he's on the floor. He's gonna get out.
We left Jordan, but not that much.
See what this says. Okay, I gotta put on my.
I'm so sorry.
See what this says. Okay, I gotta put on my old guy reading glasses here. Mirna Hernandez is one of our very special ESL aides. She's our go-to person. We need to speak with parents and is always ready with a smile to fill in when needed as a sub. She always has a smile on her face and a kind word for everyone. She cares deeply about her students. Is it true?
Yes.
Yes.
That is so true.
And is always looking for ways to help her students succeed, whether it's in the classroom or after school at the Bulldog Academy. So we wanted to once again congratulate you, Ms. Hernandez, for being Venus High School Staff Member of the Month. Congratulations. Right? See what this says. Okay, I gotta put on my old guy reading glasses here. See what this says. Okay, I gotta put on my
Oh, there she
Miss
is.
Reader, how are you?
I'm good.
We were walking past in the hallway, and your kids said, "Please come in," because nobody else is here. So we.
There you go.
Actually, what we wanted to do is congratulate you on being named Venus High School Teacher of the Month. So y'all show her some love, yeah. All right. So let's do this. Let me read what it says here. Miss Christy Reeder is our resident artist at Venus High School. She teaches every level of art from 9th grade to the elite members of Art 5. Her support of the budding artists not only enriches their lives and develops their talent, but brightens the halls and offices of Venus High School by sharing special pieces with administration and staff. Her recent exhibit of her own art was an exciting event for every person at Venus High School. So we want to collectively congratulate Miss Christy Reeder for being Venus High School Teacher of the Month. Show her some love.
Oh, there she
Miss
is.
Reeder.
Come on, Mr. Hopper.
Okay. We are congratulations to Elizabeth Valdez for being Venus Middle School Student of the Month. Y'all give it up. Give it up. Give it up. Show some love. All right. Well, let's see what it says. Yulitza Valdez has been participating in extracurricular activities like TSA and still keeping her grades up. She's always polite and helpful, friendly. Also, I think it would be great for her. So, Yulitza Valdez, you are, congratulations, Venus Middle School Student of the Month. Give it up for you. Mr. Brown, come on.
Come on, Mr. Hopper.
Okay. It's really fun to do this in front of their peers, you know, the other kids. That's really cool.
We have something for Mr. Walmer, so come on in.
All right. Well, as you know, you're sitting here in the English class of the greatest teacher in Venus Middle School history. Yes? Yes. Okay. But all joking aside, Mr. Vollmer is being honored for Teacher of the Month at Venus Middle School. Y'all show him some love. Well, this says, Mr. Vollmer is a very dedicated teacher. He always strives for excellence in everything he does. Is that true?
Yes.
Recently, he's headed up a cross-curricular unit of study over the Holocaust and has worked very hard to build community connections for our campus with the Holocaust Museum. And y'all talked about that recently, didn't you?
Yeah.
We have a very special relationship with the museum because of you students and because of the efforts of Mr. Vollmer. Mr. Vollmer demands the best from his students and will not allow them to settle for less. Is that true?
Yes.
He's pretty darn demanding. And for that, we love him and appreciate him and want to honor him with Venus Middle School Teacher of the Month. So once again.
We have something for Mr. Congratulations,
Why don't we
Teddy.
get this in front of the class?
Yeah,
Let's come in.
Walk in here, Teddy. Morning, guys. How are you?
The owner of the school.
Here you go, Teddy. Apologize.
Oh, you're fine.
I'll let you know that and go stand by Mr. Hopper.
We want to make a special presentation this morning to Mr. Teddy Ritchie. All right, Teddy? Teddy has been named the Venus Elementary School Student of the Month. Y'all give it up for Teddy. All right. So let's see what it says about Teddy, okay? It says, there you go, you get balloons. It says Teddy Ritchie is a third grade student and he is super smart, sweet, and caring young man. He's super helpful in the classroom and helps clean up without having to be asked. Is that true?
Yes.
Oh,
In
right.
fact, I'm the only one cleaning up.
All right, well, and he is super modest, and he is always polite and respectful in class and inside and out. And he is trustworthy and overall a model student. He exhibits our pause behavior each day. Teddy is an awesome Venus Elementary School Bulldogs who want to congratulate Mr. Teddy Ritchie for being the elementary school student of the month. Y'all give it up.
Congratulations,
Why don't we
Teddy.
get this in front of the class?
Yeah,
Let's come in.
Louder this time. Ready? We're going to say yay, Teddy. 1, 2, 3.
Yay!
Louder this time. Ready? We're going to say yay, Teddy.
Who, me?
Yeah. Oh, congratulations.
Thank you.
Come
big
come in with all my
balloons.
friends.
Oh.
So let's invade the office here.
Oh, very nice.
Yeah. So, all right, come on in, principals. Come on, come on, come on, come on.
Yay, Miss Gomez, we're so excited for
Okay.
you.
We brought you some goodies, some high-flying balloons, and some highfalutin words here. As soon as I can find, as soon as I can read them. Our VES counselor, Susan Gomez, is our staff member of the month. Mrs. Gomez is wonderful with our students and families. She's well respected at VES because of her positive attitude and her willingness to help out in any time. She's patient and kind with students and staff. Mrs. Gomez has a huge heart for Venus Elementary School. We're going to miss Mrs. Gomez when she retires, but she is the model of a VES Bulldog. So we want to congratulate you.
What?
Hey.
Oh my goodness! I wasn't here because I was sick. I'm so sorry.
That's the best way to do it, right?
Oh my goodness, thank you so
So
much.
congratulations.
I appreciate it.
Congratulations. Well,
Wow.
let's see what it says on the left of the fence.
Okay.
So, yeah.
There, now we got, it's recorded.
Okay, there you go. Okay, take it
Documented.
away.
Yeah, that's right.
So, Ms. Jarrett volunteered this school year to fill in the position of crossing guard before and after school at the crosswalk on 157. And by the way, I've received so many compliments about that.
She waved at everybody.
Yeah, she's the good morning. Yeah, so Ms. Jarrett is one of the first teachers that students and parents see each morning and are welcomed with a large and friendly smile and energetic wave. She's also well known for teaching GED classes in the community. Ms. Jarrett did a wonderful job with our UIL chess team this year, and I've got to come back and do that again. She is a great role model to our students, and she's always willing to jump in and be a team player and help when help is needed. Mrs. Jarrett is an important part of the VES staff. So I want to congratulate you, Ms. Pam Jarrett, as Venus Elementary School Teacher of the Month.
Well, thank you so much. What?
This morning, thank you for letting us come in, Ms. Burrow. We wanted to present today something to Miss Nyla Huerta. Where's Nyla?
Hi, Nyla.
Nyla, can you come forward, please? Can you come on out? Come on, dear. All right. Well, Nyla, what I wanted to do was present to you this award for being Venus Primary School Student of the Month. Isn't that so cool? Y'all give her a big hand. Can you do that? So let me take a minute and I'm going to read what it says about Nyla. All right, y'all ready? Venus Primary School Student of the Month is Nyla Huerta, and she is in Miss Fira's first grade class. Miss Fira said Nyla is a sweet, caring, kind first grader. Is that true?
Yeah.
Yeah. She's always quick to help other students in her class with any task. She's respectful as well to other students and to other staff members. Nyla has worked hard this year in her academics by going the extra mile in small groups and is always asking for more challenging work and a more challenging book. So congratulations, our Venus Primary School Student of the Month, Miss Nyla Huerta. Once again, give her a big hand. Oh. Class here so that we could award you this Venus Primary Staff of the Month. So anyway, once again,
I
so
got to say,
congratulations.
Well, thank you. I didn't know you could win it twice, but.
Oh, yeah, well.
Okay, that makes me proud.
Well, among other things, besides what it says here, really appreciate you stepping up and filling the gaps.
Oh, absolutely.
When we have absences and things like that, and so that's huge, So anyway, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
So, but let me tell you what it says here.
Okay.
This is the second time she's been chosen this year. Her nomination said that she's always where she is needed. She does her work amazingly, and the students who've had the pleasure to work with her adore her, and they do. She is always willing to help out wherever she is needed, whether it's pre-K, kindergarten, or first grade, bilingual classroom. I believe she deserves this award because she is filling as a substitute, even though she is already a staff member assigned
a full slate of duties. She deserves the award and more if possible. She's a valuable member of our staff, and we cannot do without her. So thank you so much, Ms. Lopez, for
Well,
all
thank
that you
you. What y'all gonna do when I retire?
do. Class here so that we could award you.
Oh, will you come over here, please, Mr. Williams?
Of course. Guys, we wanted to stop by today and present Mr. Williams, the Venus Primary School Teacher of the Month. Give him a big hand.
Oh, well, thank you.
All right.
Thank you,
All
sir.
right. Well, let's see what this says, shall we?
Yes.
All right.
Oh, I'm afraid.
Yeah, we're gonna see what it says here about Mr. Williams. Oh, there's a bunch. Venus Primary School Teacher of the Month is Mr. Brian Williams. His nomination said that Mr. Williams really invests in his students, and that means he really loves and cares for his students a lot. Is that true?
Yes.
Okay. Every opportunity he gets, he is teaching. In the hall, in bathroom breaks, and on the way to specials, on the way to lunch, and of course, in the classroom. He works hard to build a rapport with each of the students and their families, and only makes their learning and growth even better. He has the biggest heart, and does he have the biggest heart?
Have y'all seen it inside?
And cares deeply for all of his students. He takes the time to make sure that all of his students feel special and make sure that they all have what they need to be successful. Is that true?
Yes.
Wow. Mr. Williams is patient, kind, and caring. He makes sure that all of his students are engaged in learning by creating fun and challenging lessons. Yes?
Yes.
Yes. He is a top-notch teacher and deserves the recognition of Venus Primary School Teacher of the Month. Let's give it up for Mr. Williams. They're animals that that was first grade, wasn't it?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, they're amazing. There's a lion, a sloth, and a frog. I'm not sure how they made the slideshow, but those were great pictures.
That's always good. Be nice when we can hold that back in here again.
I know what I did in first grade, and it didn't look anything like that.
Right.
So anyway, well, thank you for being engaged. It's a very special time when we can do that with all of our students, so, and our staff as well.
Is there any questions or discussions on the campus reports? Okay, if not, we'll go take opportunity for public comment, including any item on the agenda. And we did have 2 people to sign up, so let me read the rules. The board encourages comments from citizens of the district or from district employees. Anyone wishing to speak, either as an individual or as a representative of a group, may do so at this time. The board asks that comments pertain to public education and be no longer than 5 minutes. Remember that the board may not discuss or act upon any issues that are not posted on our agenda for tonight's meeting. If any issue mentioned is listed on tonight's agenda, the board will defer discussion of the issue until the appropriate time during the meeting. And Mr. Robert Althouse, do you want to speak first?
That'll be fine.
Mr. Althouse is going to speak on the 6th grade ELA book.
Yes, sir.
First, ladies and gentlemen of the board, Mr. President, Mr. Hopper, thank you for allowing me to speak tonight. Don't have much time, but I'd like to address an issue with a certain book that's been selected as part of the curriculum for our 6th grade ELA students, which my daughter is a part of. There's a lot that I would like to say and discuss, but I realize I won't be able to get it all in. My daughter brought this book to our attention after they were well into it, when some more than inappropriate text was brought up. The book is titled Bad Boy, a Memoir. It's about a black boy who grows up in Harlem in the 40s and 50s. According to the teacher, the book deals with race and identity. However, I struggle to understand what this has to do with the English class. There may be some big picture moment or inspirational piece to this book, but that is lost due to the profane, vulgar, and explicit content this book contains. When we first addressed the issue with the teacher, we were told that it was chosen for the entire 6th grade and that she understands and supports our feelings as parents and even agrees with our concerns, but insisted that we think it's appropriate. Now, I'm here to tell you that it's not appropriate. It's not appropriate for my child and should not be administered in the classroom to any 11 or 12-year-old child without a parent's guidance or consent. When we set out to obtain a copy to present to you tonight, the places that were selling it, including Amazon, has it listed as a 13 and up due to some content. Mind you, my daughter will not turn 13 until the 2nd semester of 7th grade, along with the majority of our 6th grade students. And when digging more into the book, we found study guides online in an attempt to summarize some of the things that were going on, but they were all for 8th graders, which are far more advanced and mature, I know, because I have both. Although the 8th grade better fits the age group this book is recommended for, I still believe that this book has no place in our English classrooms, especially without proper notice to parents for the inclusion of such controversial content. As parents, it is our responsibility to teach our children morals about subjects concerning sex, among many other matters covered in this book, at our discretion and at a time when we feel it is appropriate. We feel Venus ISD has overstepped their bounds in this instance for us and for many others, whether they're aware or unaware. The school system has taken too much liberty concerning the education of our children in such matters and will not stand for it. As the principal reached out to us to explain the procedures we have as parents to appeal any such material, I explained to her that it was too late. The procedures you have in place do us no good if we are not given the opportunity beforehand to review the material, and we were never notified that this book was selected. And again, she understood our concerns, but felt it appropriate. While I'm thankful she reached out and wants to discuss with my wife and I whether they should continue with the book for the coming years, it does not satisfy the fact that my daughter cannot unhear, unsee, unsay, or unlearn all that has been discussed in the classroom. We're still considering our options at this time and where we decide to take this. I would like to read to you some of the statements out of this book, and I'll be substituting words that I refuse to say. And I'll remind you that the children were reading this aloud in mixed company and with mixed ethnicities.
1 minute.
When I heard older guys talk about girls and sex, they talked as if sex were the greatest thing that had ever happened and that it was normal to have sex. Although I didn't know all the ins and outs of sexuality, I did understand that there was a connection between homosexuality and being called a F word. Okay. My next session with Dr. Holliday went well. She asked me about my family life and asked me if I had ever had sex with a girl. I answered that I had. I knew the answer I was supposed to give. I was male and did not know what it meant other than in terms of anatomy. I had a male genitalia, and therefore I had to figure out what it meant to be male. I certainly heard the epithet N-word by the time I was 10.
That's time, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Althouse. Okay, now we will have Mrs. Amanda Althouse speaking on band mask.
I'd first like to say thank you to the school board and Mr. Hopper for allowing me to speak on the behalf of my children and the kids at Venus ISD. My daughter is in 6th grade and has been given a mask to wear in band class, and I have several concerns about this particular mask. She has the mask on, and I'd like for you to look at it. I'd like to know what your first thought is when you see this mask. Boys' underwear. Everyone we have showed the mask to has the same opinion to the appearance of this mask being vulgar and was shocked at the lack of common sense in the application of it. Think like an immature middle school student. Close your eyes and think about it. You have this on your face, you separate the hole, and you stick a long wooden hard instrument in your mouth, and what does it look like? I'm not a disgusting person, and I don't walk around looking for things that are inappropriate with my head in the gutters, but when you see this, that is your first thought. Who determined what mask my tax dollars were going to pay for? And did anyone actually not see that it looks like boys' underwear? Not only is this mask vulgar and disgusting, it is offensive. I would like to know who mandates the band mask and based on what fact or common sense. I'm not a rocket scientist and I don't have a degree in anything particular, but I do have a degree in common sense, and I understand that when you blow into an instrument, air comes out of the end of the clarinet and along the holes throughout. And I was told when I asked about an alternate mask that as long as the nose was covered, the mask will do. Is that all we're concerned about, the nose? If you've never blown into a woodwind instrument, the player breathes in the nose and out the mouth. Does the instrument filter the air as it goes through it so it's clean when it comes out? How come parents were not communicated to that this was a requirement, and why are we not a part of the decision? I posted this on the Venus Facebook page and surrounding Facebook pages, and I can tell you I'm not alone in this situation. Venus ISD and Venus, Texas were the laughing stock on Facebook. Do you realize how stupid we're making our school district look? This school year has been a waste because the school district is worried about kids wearing their mask and covering their nose instead of worrying about the kids passing and teaching. Teachers are contradicting. They sit there and yell at the kids to pull their mask up, all the while not wearing one themselves. Coaches are yelling at kids in the locker room to pull their mask up, that they're not wearing one, and while they're doing that, they're spitting while yelling at the kids. Teachers are sitting at their desk without their mask while yelling at the kids across the room to pull their mask up. Admin building staff aren't wearing their mask. I witnessed 2 people in one office in this particular building not wearing a mask, and you expect visitors and kids to wear one? Peaster ISD, Italy ISD, Joshua ISD, Springtown ISD, they've lifted their mandate. They don't do contract tracing. Why can't we do that here? My son has been quarantined 5 times this school year, totaling 10 weeks. Yes, one time was because my husband and I got it, and I completely understand that. But do you realize that 2 of the other times was because an admin member or a coach got it? But what doesn't make sense to us is a friend of my son who was sitting at the same lunch table as the kid who got COVID never got quarantined, but Noah did. How about instead of concentrating on who walked by who and who sat by who and quarantining everyone, we actually teach our kids, because that's what our tax dollars are paying for, not for someone to yell at them about a mask. I realize you cannot respond to me right now, but I want a response. I want to know how we're going to fix the above issues. This isn't right. We need to unmask our children and actually teach them something. Who will be contacting me, and when can I expect a response? If I don't hear back from anyone, I will keep coming to these meetings. I will keep bringing parents with me, and I will be speaking on this particular subject until something changes and we make it better for our kids. They deserve it. Again, I'd like to thank you for your time, and I look forward to hearing back from someone.
Thank you, Mr. and Mrs. Althouse.
Mr. Hopper, may I ask Mr. Althouse a question? May I know which section of the book you were quoting, please?
Which sections?
Yes, sir.
So, do you want page numbers?
Yes, please.
Okay, page number 136 and 137. Page 172 and 173. Page 175. Page 178 and 179.
Thank you.
Okay, thank y'all very much. And at this time, if anybody would like to leave, you're welcome to do so. Or you can stay for the rest of the meeting. We would enjoy having you if you'd stay. Okay. We will go to item 6, student growth performance update by Anne Marie Morgan. Dr. Morgan.
Hello, everyone. Flip that off. So we're going to take a look at some data so we can see our student readiness in reading. We spent some time on math a couple months ago, and so now we're going to look at where we are in reading. Let's see. So you want to scroll down. There you go. Okay. The table that I have didn't quite translate to your document, so I'm going to sort of talk through what you're seeing on that document. So for our primary school students, what we're seeing is that in kindergarten, let me backtrack. So across the board, what we're trying to see based on our MAP growth data is students near the 50th percentile or higher. So when we're hitting around the 50th percentile, we can say that they're close to the norm average for that grade level. And if they're above the 50th percentile, they're more likely working at grade level skills. So they're where they should be. And then of course, the higher they are on the percentile ranking, the more likely they are to be our higher achievers. And so right now in kindergarten, we had students on average at the 58th percentile, which is actually pretty good. So that's a really great point for kindergarten. We have, for our bilingual kindergarten, they're at the average of the 47th percentile. First grade, 46th, and Spanish first grade was 50th percentile. And a highlight here is one of the questions that we want to ask about all of our students is, did students meet their growth projection? So our MAP growth system, when the student takes the first assessment, it takes all the information from our school, all the students who performed in that grade. It uses some weird magical algorithms to compare that to norms for that grade level, and it sets a projection for each student, how much they should grow in order to start getting closer to that 50th percentile or to maintain their percentile if they're on track. And so what we want to see is students meeting their growth projection. And for each student, it's different. And so that's something to understand is one student, the growth projection might be 3 points. Another student, it might be 12 points. And so it's really not fair to compare student to student for how much they grew, but rather, did they meet the projected growth for their individual goals? And so a highlight at the primary school is that we had over 50% of first graders meeting their growth projection. And so that's really exciting for this first year. And also, as we know, this COVID year has kept a lot of kids out of school, and that is detrimental to their learning. We saw a couple months ago how students who were online in the first semester didn't perform as well as students who were in the classroom. And so we definitely want to see every student making growth. And so right now we see 50% of first graders in English reading meeting their growth projection. So that's really good. And then, no, ma'am, sorry. It's okay. It's okay. We will get to the bottom of it, to the heart of it. Another thing that I did for this particular report was look at our different demographics so we could look at subpopulations. And so something noticeable is that in many of our grade levels, our Hispanic students are performing under where the class average is, whereas in many grades, our white students are performing at or above the average. And so it's definitely something that we want teachers to look at and think about. Are we meeting the needs of all students? Are we using texts that reflect Hispanic heritage and culture? Are there ESL students in the classroom who need additional support, additional strategies? So again, in first grade Spanish, our first grade Spanish group, which is taught in Spanish for reading were at the average of 52%. So that's really good for that particular group. Something else noticeable for primary is that our SPED students in kindergarten were performing on average at the 58th percentile. So that's really exciting. Very often, students who are identified as needing special services perform below the class average. And so in this particular group of kindergartners are performing very well. And then where it says reading growth in Lexia Core 5, Liz, if you want to scroll down just a bit. So that's a good, clean graphic. That's what we want to see. So Lexia is a program that we started for reading, and it does only serve in English. Unfortunately, the program that we're using for Spanish, so we do have a program for Spanish-speaking students that is building their reading skills, but unfortunately, the system does not give us the kind of data that the Lexia system gives us. So I can't tell you just yet which students are performing and how they've grown in that system. But as far as the Lexia goes, what we can see is we want students working in their grade level in the system. So when they started at the very beginning, it placed them where their skill level seemed to be. And for, as you can see in the gray there on the left column, we had 15% of students working 2 grade levels below. So that's probably first graders who were still working at a pre-K level. And then 38% of students working 1 grade below. And so that could be kindergarten or first graders who are working below. But you can see they've made tremendous progress. And now only 18% of our students at primary are working below grade level, which is really exciting that nearly 80% of them are working in their grade level content, which means they are, they're right where they should be. So if they're able to keep working in that, that means they're gaining the skills that they need for that grade level. Okay, so then we can move on to elementary. So some highlights for elementary, just across the board, our second grade bilingual students were performing on average at almost the 53rd percentile, which is really exciting. And nearly 80% of them met their projected growth. So just really exciting about our second grade bilingual teachers and what they're doing with their students. Also, 4th and 5th grade students saw more than 50% meet their projected growth for the year. And so it's just really, really exciting to see those kind of numbers when we know all of the ins and outs of this year. I was talking with Mrs. Box earlier today and mentioned how even my own son, who's in 3rd grade, has been quarantined 3 times this year. We were out on quarantine and then right into the snow again, and so he missed about 4 weeks of school, and he was working at home, and even with me working with him, he didn't quite meet his growth projection for the mid-year. And so it's very easy and safe to say that when students are not in school with their teacher focused on learning, that they're missing something. And so for students who may be quarantined and don't have a teacher as a parent or a parent who can be at home with them during that quarantine, it truly is detrimental to their learning and to their growth. Okay, so also at the elementary school, we have our Hispanic students in 4th and 5th grade also more than 50% meeting that growth, so that's good. And that's the Hispanic students in the English classes. The Hispanic students in who tested in English, sorry. So that would be all of our 4th and 5th grade Hispanic students. In 2nd grade, again, we had that high growth in their bilingual. Our students who are identified as limited English proficient, and so these are students who are in our ELAR classes or who took the English reading test, but who are probably learning English as a second language. They may not have been in the bilingual program. Their parents may have chosen to not place them in the bilingual program, so they're being served in our regular English reading program. In that group, we had nearly 70% of our 5th grade students meet their projected growth, which is really exciting. Although in each grade level, their average percentile is below the average, and so that's something we definitely want teachers to be looking at and thinking about. Let's see, also another highlight for elementary, our 2nd grade African American students, actually their percentile average was higher than the class average, which is also really exciting. And we had let's see. And also in 4th grade, our students being served with special ed services, we had nearly 70% meet their projected growth. So also very good. And then we can go down a little bit to, okay, so the Lexia graphic didn't show up on that, but that's okay. I can tell you that we also had growth there for elementary in our Lexia scores. So we now have close to 30% of students working in their grade level or who have reached the end of the benchmark. So we have 5th graders who finished the program. They're moving into 6th grade, like ready to go, on track, which is really exciting. And we had a significant number of students move from 2 grades below to 1 grade below. And the older you get, the more there is to catch up on, the bigger the gaps can be. And so it's exciting to see so many students making that progress. And then this graph here, this is actually still, well, this shows you 2nd grade through 8th grade, so we can look at all that data together. This also comes from our MAP data. And this is the projection based on where they were in February, how they will do on the STAR test for reading this year. And so even though 2nd graders do not take a STAR test, it does give us a prediction how they would do next year as 3rd graders. So that 2nd grade number is a little sketchy because we're still talking about well over a year plus for them to grow and meet that projection. But it's still interesting and good to see that we have 60% in the yellow, green, and blue categories. And so that's what we want. So that red category are the number of students who are projected not to at least approach grade level standard. And when we say approach, a lot of times we say pass. So approach and pass go together. Meet is actually the target because that means they are meeting grade level expectations, working with grade level skills. And then masters would be those students who perform above what is expected of that grade level. And so you can see for each grade where we are with the projections. And something just to note is that this data was from the end of February. We've made a lot of progress since then. Teachers have been working very hard and doing a lot of good instruction, working with students in small groups, doing tutoring after school. And so there's a lot of good, effective instruction happening. Those projections for did not meet are also not too far off where we were 2 years ago on the actual STAR test. So all things being considered, we're still pretty close to where we were. So that's good news. Okay, and then on to middle school. So y'all heard Mr. Vollmer, the teacher of the month for the middle school, and he leads the middle school English department. And let me tell you, they do some really incredible work there. We had 7th and 8th grade, more than 50% of students meeting their projected growth in those 2 grades, so that's fabulous. Our 8th graders, we had over 80% of our limited English proficient 8th graders meeting their projected growth, and close to 60% of our special ed students in 8th grade meeting their projected growth. So what that tells me is the teachers are paying attention to their students and meeting their needs and moving them as much as they can. We also had similar for our Hispanic students in 7th and 8th grade, and our white students in 8th grade. So there are definitely good things happening across the board. And then through 8th grade, we also still use the Lexia program. There we go, that's the graphic. And so in the middle school grades, it divides it into these categories of reading, which just helps the teachers, again, really target which skills are needed. And so it's the same color coding, so that gray is students working in K through 2nd grade levels. So as you can see here, we had students start the year in each of these 3 categories, still at those foundational levels. And then we have the light blue is students working in 3rd through 5th grade, which is the intermediate. And then the dark blue is students who are working at middle school grade levels. And so this tells us where the needs are. So you can see in the middle, we still have the largest part of gray, and so that's grammar. And grammar is pretty tough for a lot of people. And so that's one area that we're looking at. Comprehension students tend to do better in comprehension at this grade, and so that's exciting to see. The 43% of them now working in the grade level skills, which is really good. That's where we want them. And then if we look at their,
I'm sorry, Dr. Moore.
go ahead.
Dr. Vincenzi, can I ask you on word study, are you talking about particularly vocabulary?
Yes. So at the middle school levels, well, no, it's not entirely true. Vocabulary is a part of word study. However, students who are still in that gray zone are actually working on skills such as phonics, syllable recognition. So those basic foundational skills that we associate with the primary grades, many of the students don't understand how words work together. And so they're actually studying and learning those skills in those foundational grades. And so once they get into that dark blue, which is more of the middle school level, then it's truly vocabulary. And so vocabulary building. Mm-hmm. And then you can see for our projected STAR, we're actually, for middle school, just for example, 6th grade, it says 35% of students were not projected to meet the STAR approaches category. 2 years ago, on our actual 6th grade STAR test, 39% of students did not meet. So the data looks really good that we may even do better than we did 2 years ago in middle school. And that's the same for each grade. 7th grade, 2 years ago, we had 33% of students not pass, and we have only 26% projected to possibly not pass. And then also for 8th grade, 2 years ago, we had on the first administration 22% of students who did not meet the expectation, who did not approach, and here we only have less than 18% projected. So again, the middle school English department is really, really doing a fabulous job. Okay, and then high school, just a couple of highlights here. So our 10th grade reading scores, the average percentile is just about the 54th percentile. So that's really good. And in 9th and 10th grade, we had more than 50% of students meet their projected growth. So that's definitely what we want to see. We did have there's some gaps between where our limited English proficient and our special ed students are at the high school. So that's definitely something to look at and talk with the teachers and talk with our special ed teachers to see what may be needed and what support we can give those students. Hispanic students in 10th grade, also 50%, more than 50% met their projected growth. And so that's good. And then the last slide we have for today is for high school, what the MAP reading growth projection, it's for our ACT and SAT. So it actually doesn't give us EOC projections. And actually this is better because the ACT and SAT is more relevant for high school students. So what you're seeing on the left-hand side, the left table, is student readiness for the SAT. And it is just saying students are on track to score at least a 530 in reading, which they have determined is the number for college readiness. And so right now for 9th graders, you can see about 54% of them are not on track to score at least a 530 on the SAT, and a little bit over 45% are. And so as 9th graders, they're not going to take the SAT. They won't take it till they're 11th graders. So there's still some time to work with them. And then on the right-hand side of the table is for the ACT. And it takes us all the way back to 5th grade. So we can even see where students are, not just on STAR for 5th through 8th grade, but how that translates to ACT and SAT readiness. So for the ACT, we have 2 categories: on track for a 22 and on track for a 24. So on track for a 22 is closer to the state average. That is going to be more of your widely accepted entrance score. The 24 is going to be a little bit more rigorous. Some of our universities that are a little more selective will be looking for more of a 24 than a 22. And so you can see there for our 10th graders where we are. And so that's definitely something that we'll want to talk with our sophomore English teachers about, and what we can do to integrate some SAT and ACT strategies to make sure they're prepared for those tests. So that is the student growth update. That was a lot of information. You're welcome.
I
Okay.
actually do. It took me a second to turn the button on. It seems to me the last test that we have taken, not these during, but the last legitimate test that got reported to us before COVID started, and I'm not sure if I'm seeing much difference in the trends or not. I see what's showing, and it looks optimistic, but it seems to me that on that test, the Hispanics outscored the whites quite a bit in reading and I can't remember if it was reading and writing, if it was just whichever part of that test, but I found it odd that the Hispanics outscored the whites so highly. So the Hispanics doing well to maintain the trend we're already on, they need to be up there.
Yes.
That's not really an accomplishment because we've already done that. It was the white kids that were actually falling behind on some of that. And it looks like we're just about the same place we were then because we scored pretty good. I'm not complaining about the score as much as I was shocked at the difference, and you were stressing how, non or second, English learners or however you want to state whichever group, but that's been a trend here for a while. So I guess if they weren't doing as good, then I would be concerned that we were just flip-flopping.
Yes, sir.
So,
Yes, sir.
does it make
Yes.
sense what I'm saying?
Yes, it does. So
And I'm thinking back, almost 2 years now. So, it's hard for me to remember. I just remember that really catching my eye and drawing my attention. So when you were speaking of this, I was thinking, it sounds like, where we were originally.
So over the past few years, we definitely did notice a trend starting with Hispanic students and white students, but the group that has traditionally underperformed is the students who are limited English proficient. So many of our Hispanic students have grown up speaking English and are not identified as limited English proficient because English is actually their first language. And even for some whose first language is Spanish, if they've grown up speaking both languages, they may be placed in ELAR classes. And so we're just really comparing the demographic Hispanic students to non-Hispanic or Caucasian or white. And we can pull in African American students or Pacific Islander, all of those ethnicities.
Right.
So the group that we really want to pay attention to is the students who are labeled limited English proficient, because those are the students whose definitely their first language is not English, and whose some of them, their parents may or may not speak English. And so those are the ones who they have more challenges to learning. And so it's definitely that group we want to see. That's definitely the group that tends to underperform. So their average tends to be lower than the class average. So that's one of the groups we definitely want to keep our eyes on and help teachers with the strategies they need to support those students. But you're absolutely right about the Hispanic and white. And so a group that we also want to keep our eye on is our economically disadvantaged students. And those students could be white or African American or Hispanic, LEP or SPED. And so it definitely factors into their performance.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. And I think I'm up next too. So I think I'm also up next.
Oh, you're doing, is this a T verification? Okay.
Yes, sir.
Would you like, go for it.
I'm okay. Okay, so every year we have to submit to the state a verification that the materials that we have adopted and that we use for our core content meet 100% of the TEKS. And so this is a new form. In the past, it's just been a form with a bunch of checkboxes that the board president has signed. This is a new form from the state. And so it just asks us to list how we will verify that we're covering all of the TEKS for each core content. And last year, you all approved the use of the TEKS resource system as our managed curriculum. And so we're able to select that that option that we follow the TEKS resource system scopes and sequences for each core content, kindergarten through 12th grade, and that ensures that we are covering all of the TEKS for those courses. And we also have, on the right-hand column, you can see where it says notes. I've just put in what adopted materials we use for each grade level and core content. And so all of the materials we've adopted are approved by the state on the state list to cover 100% of the TEKS. And so those are the materials that we purchase or we renew every year. We are adding this year a new adoption for our pre-K students. It's not on this list because it's not a part of K-12 core content, but we do want you all to know that we are adopting new materials that are state approved, covering 100% of the pre-K guidelines. So they don't have standards, but they do have guidelines. And the teachers are all very excited about it. It's going to allow them to incorporate a lot of movement and play and song and dance with the reading and math skills that they need as that foundation for kindergarten. So I just wanted to make sure I added that in, even though it's not a part of that actual document. So the other items on here, it says, what is your district's approach to covering 100% of the standards for math, ELA, science, and social studies? And we use the TEKS resource system, and we develop the materials to align to the scope and sequence. So we don't change the year-at-a-glance documents. We adjust the materials to fit what the TEKS resource system said we should teach and when we should teach it. And then the last question up there says, what implementation approach does your district take for materials? And it says all school leaders required to implement district's approach, which is following the TEKS resource system and using the adopted materials that have been approved by the state. And so each campus does that. Each campus also has the freedom to select supplementary materials to augment the state adopted materials.
Is that the file that they have in their folder? One of the things that you very well are versed on is the CCMR and the importance it plays in the accountability world. What I wanted to talk with you a little bit about tonight is the process that we go through to track and monitor kids, not only in the CCMR field, but the industry-based certifications and how that all comes together. We're working on the numbers right now, but as of last year, we had over 90% of our kids that were in a CTE strand, and so that is very high. I foresee that number will probably go up this year. If you look, you can't read this very well.
Oh, so you want a hard copy here?
Yes. Okay, if you look across the top, in regards to part of these indicators, you'll notice TSI, SAT, ACT, those are areas that we work very hard on. Of course, the TSI piece is what students have to pass in order to get into the dual credit program, so they can take the dual credit courses through Hill College. I'd have to borrow your glasses there. Moving across. Is the dual credit. Helps if you got a little bit of light.
We can see that anyways.
Right. In the dual credit coursework, as you're very well known, many of our kids can graduate with 50 hours worth of dual credit through Hill College. On the CTE side of that, not only do our kids receive welding certifications through the welding program, they also get dual credit college through Hill College because Jim Bob and Ms. Zeiler are both adjunct professors for Hill College in the welding platform. So that helps us there as well. One of the things that we've discussed for the last 2 years.
Karen is online as well, and she has a few things.
I'll let her jump in just a second. One of the things that we're trying to beef up, and we've slowly but surely added AP courses, is the lack thereof as of 3 years ago. So we've been able to add AP, which will show up on that as well. All right, Karen, jump in.
Okay, so I can see your screen, and so if I seem a little disconnected, I'm trying to look at the screen. So anyway, what you see here is the state allows certain things that they call indicators. In other words, indicators that students are college, career, or military ready. So what you see on here is they count the TSI, the SAT, the ACT, certain dual credit, military enlistments and AP exams, and industry certifications. Now, there are many ways that we can tell if students are college and career ready, but these are the ones that the state accepts as part of our accountability. And so, as you can see, our goal, for this year, the board was 52% of our students would be college and career ready, as met by one or more of these indicators. But even if a student has 3 or more indicators, the state only will count them once. So our goal was to get at 52% of students meeting at least one indicator, and we are currently, as of last week, at 57%, which is a good percentage. We're meeting our goals. And also, several of these things will fill in later. Many students aren't taking the SAT until the end of this month. Or the ACT, dual credit. Many of them have not finished courses yet, so we'll get that at the end of the year. AP exams are done in May, so we have that information end of May. And military enlistments, we have not yet received any notice that anyone except perhaps one student is joining the military, but we expect to have others. So right now, what we do for each student, that's what you see on the very left. We, of course, took student names off, but it shows here, it would be student name, and then our college and career coordinator, Barbara Brummett, every time, we get some of this information and we give it to her, and she updates the spreadsheet in real time.
And another piece that's extremely helpful for Ms. Brummett is there's another spreadsheet that we also follow that has some of the same information, but as you very well know, the industry-based certification piece is huge for us. And if you'll notice in the blue, the OSHA 30, that's an industry certification that our students walk out the door with if they've been in our welding program, manufacturing strand. Last year we did all-encompassing, and so that number was about 104 kids. And so those that needed that certification, that number's down a little bit, but there's still approximately 70 kids that got the OSHA 30. And that's good for them to walk into business and industry tomorrow. The other piece that Ms. Brummett takes care of as certifications come through, it's broken down into multiple levels of demographics. One of the areas that we kind of hang our hat on is areas of industry that are underrepresented, atypically females that weld. And so we have a large number of our girls that go into the welding program. The document also tracks all the different certifications that we offer. And then this summer, I get to do a glorious comprehensive report that also leans towards our Perkins 5 grant funding. So during summer submission, these numbers go in, and that is submitted through PEAMS. And this is the information that we pull off of there that goes into the accountability piece of the state accountability. Ms. Woodward?
And I'll also add, if you see on the top of that, in case you're wondering, it says grad code, just as a point of clarification, what that little column means. That's for students who are coded special education and other indicators. So that's what that means.
Any questions, thoughts, concerns? clarification?
Some of these that are undecided or haven't got anything in here as far as what they're going to be doing after high school.
Well, many of them will be joining the workforce. Many of them will be joining the workforce. If they're kind of undecided or not at this time kind of thing, the majority of those kids are planning on graduation and going straight into the workforce. And if you'll look, there's a fairly extensive list of kiddos. Like Ms. Woodworth said, we pulled the names off the sides, but if you just go down the list, the number of kids that have already committed to a college or a university is huge.
You know, and some of the ones that say undecided, we have several students that are actually sorting through several offers from college. And so they may show up as undecided as well because they haven't made their choices yet. So for ones who haven't made their choices, a lot of them, it'll just say undecided while they decide what it is where they want to go and what they want to do.
I was just wondering, Mr. Owens, you started to ask a question. Did you get it asked?
I was going to say, are we working with these students to make sure?
Yes, very much so. Ms. Brummett has done a wonderful job, not only with the college piece, but also with the scholarship piece as well. Many of the area scholarships, as well as some offered through college and universities, she works hand in hand with those kids, trying to get them the support they need to apply for all of that. So, yes, we continue to push them. Just because their name isn't attached to a college as of yet, we'll keep pushing them till the bitter end.
I really enjoyed the breakdown. Thank you for presenting it like this. It was clean and I appreciate that. Thank you.
And then once we get into June, I'll come back and do a kind of a fill in and actually show you how many different certifications that our kids achieved, whether it be Adobe or Microsoft or the welding certifications as well.
Hey, Mrs. Woodworth,
Yes, sir.
isn't that 57% above the goal
Yes.
for this year?
Our goal for this year was to have 52% of our students have at least one indicator. Right now, currently, our goal is at 50, well, not our goal, but our number is at 57. So we have exceeded our goal, and we're waiting for the end of year. It will be higher still. I anticipate we'll be close to 60 by the end of the year, if not higher.
Sounds good. Good job.
Thank you.
Anybody have any more questions about this? Do you have anything else?
Not at this time, but like I said, once we get through the school year and get a final tally on IBC's industry-based certifications, I'll come back and give an update, just so you know how many kids received what in which area.
We should have a little more information by the next meeting, shouldn't we?
Yes. Well, and that's the thing is, a lot of the certifications are just coming to an end now through the mid part of May. So they'll either get their certification or they won't. So that's why I'll come back in the June board meeting and give you full updates as far as how many kids and what areas got their industry certifications.
And the the dual credit numbers will be finalized by that time as well.
All right. Sounds good. Thank y'all.
Thank you.
DIB.
Am I rushing you off there, Hollis? I didn't mean to.
I'm still standing. Okay, we were at
Wait
a
a minute.
quarterly review.
Wait a minute, you gotta let me read this.
Okay.
You're just trying to move right ahead here, aren't you? Item 7, quarterly review of district and campus improvement plans by Mr. Moore. Now you can start.
Thank you so very much. We are at our quarterly review time, in which we look at what things have been accomplished and where we're currently at moving forward. Granted, there's 6 weeks of school left.
There'll be many of these things that we have already accomplished, some that are very, very close and should be fully 100% by the time we end school here in May. So just for example, if you look at strategy 1, in January we were at 50%, right where we should be. And then at this point in time through March, we've achieved that piece fully to 100%. It's the second strategy. It's been a little bit slower with our secondary reading strategy, but we're still at 70% and feel strongly by the time we finish school in May that we will have accomplished 100% rate. Strategy 3 in regards to AVID, all of our staff use AVID strategies in their classrooms, so we felt like we're at about 75% with that number as well. Okay, in the use of MAP data, we're still working with our staff to desegregate that data and target areas of strengths and weaknesses. So we marked it as 55. For strategy 1 in the next category, the average of student RIT scores in math will increase 0.5 closer to the national norm by 2021. We have got all of our curriculum in place as of now, which should well be in place. So we're at 100%. The use of Imagine Math to improve math skills for students K-5 is at 60. One of the things that we've determined, and I know Dr. Morgan spoke extensively on this in the student performance piece, is one of the areas that we've noticed is that COVID has been more difficult on the math side than it has been the reading. So our math is just a little bit behind where our reading is at this current time. All right, scroll up just a little bit, Ms. Grew. This is in regards to EL students, so that our EL students are closing the achievement gap in ELA and reading. Our first strategy with the use of talk, read, talk, write, we're at about 75%, and it definitely shows in the data that Dr. Morgan has presented in the performance. Once again, EL students closing the achievement gap in math, we're a little bit behind that number, and it's just a direct correlation of what I just had mentioned just before. We're at about 60% where the EL math is related. CCMR on the next piece, we're about 90% there based on our strategies. The rest of those, as we scroll down, they are end of the year analyzing pieces as far as that is concerned. Our next strategy, okay, in the instructional coaching piece, our instructional coaches have done a fabulous job working with our staff this year. I could get Ms. Morgan up here and she could talk for another 30 minutes in regards to the work that those have done. On the ELAR side, we're at about 90%. In that regards, we have the ability for our staff to get ESL certification either through Region 10, 11, or 12, as well as Texas A&M. And so 100% of that has been implemented and taken care of. The next strategy, the mentor teachers, of course, by this point, we're at 100% with our mentor teachers and new teachers. Providing instructional coaching to teachers, 100% across the board, goes back to our reading, ELA, and math interventionist. Okay, as far as gathering feedback, climate and culture, Dr. Morgan and Warren have done a great job periodically putting surveys out to our staff, gathering input. What was it, 3 weeks ago that you put out the climate survey? Right before spring break. Okay. Wow, how time flies. Anyway, we try to read the pulse of our staff and take their feedback and look at the data they provide us, and if we need to make changes, we make changes. So we're at about 100% there, 85. Those others are like safety and well-being. That'll be a end of the year analysis. One thing that we have continually talked about is increasing our community engagement. That is going to be huge for us. COVID kind of put a dink in it for this year. Mr. Hopper and his town hall community meetings, as far as our building strategies, we've had some good turnout there. We're still not where we need to be, and we'll keep working forward in that regards. Any questions? Thoughts, concerns? Sir?
Are you going through each strategy
No.
at every campus?
No, we'll just talk about the district plan.
Okay.
Unless you want me to.
No.
Okay. One of the things that you need to understand as far as the SIPs and the DIP, district improvement plan, campus improvement plan. If you look at those two documents, they mirror each other as far as what our goals are for the district. Then by campus, they identify specific strategies to meet that goal. So the district plan gives you the overarching the goals for the district, where the campuses, their goals are the same. Their strategies are going to look a little different from primary to high school. So, any other questions? Yes. Our staff has been working tremendously hard trying to get the kids where they need to be. And, ultimately we won't know until the end to what level we've been successful in progressing them through this, unprecedented time. But we can positively say, and that Dr. Morgan's data proves it even more, is we are moving students forward. Regardless of where they're at, they're moving forward. And that's why we quarterly review these, to ensure that we're doing what we say we're doing.
I had a question. I think this is high school. Strategy 1 details academic intervention time, flex time built into the current Bell schedule for skill building and mathematics, English, science studies, and LOTE. And in November is 80%, and in January and March it was discontinued.
Yes. One of the things that we changed in the master schedule is we pulled the flex time, and so we've incorporated Bulldog Academy, which is an after-school program at all the campuses, so there'd be uniform across the board.
Karen want to address that?
Karen,
do you want to address that?
Yeah, we made a decision on efficacy with what was more efficient on campus, to have the 25 minutes Bulldog a day, or to add those minutes back into general classroom instruction. And so we determined that our time would be better spent by adding the minutes back into the classroom, and students attend Bulldog Academy for their tutorials.
So basically, it's a really good example of, as we go, monitor and adjust. Something's a good plan. We think it's a good plan. And then whether it is just simply not panning out the way we thought, or its implementation, or whatever the situation is, if it's not to our advantage, we need to, as we monitor that, if we need to adjust it, that's what they've done, made the adjustment.
That's correct.
And in all of these, they're a living, breathing document. And as Mr. Hopper stated, if the best laid plans don't always work, they are a target for us to shoot for. And if it's not working the way it's intended to, we can monitor and adjust our strategies to meet what we're trying to attempt as a goal. Any other questions? All right. Yes, yes, yes. Thank you so very much.
Okay, thank you. And if there's no objection, may we take 5 minutes before I get into the next item? Nobody objects, we're good. Under the State Board of Education rule, completing required continuing education each year of service is a basic obligation and an expectation of any sitting board member. As board president, I am required to announce the name of each member who, as of that member's anniversary of election or appointment to the board, has completed the required continuing education, has exceeded the required continuing education, and is deficient in meeting the required continuing education. There are multiple categories of board members' continuing education: local district orientation, basic legal orientation and legal update training, team building, team of 8, additional education based on framework for school board development, evaluating and improving student outcomes, sexual abuse, human trafficking, and other maltreatment of children. That's HB 403-86. Open Meetings Act, Public Information Act, and cybersecurity. To the extent applicable to board members under the legal requirements, I will announce the completion or deficiency as required training. For members who still have time remaining to complete required training, I will announce those board members who have scheduled timely training and those who have not yet scheduled a training. At the conclusion of this announcement, I will announce any board members' training in excess of the continuing education requirements. Local district orientation, basic legal orientation and legal update training. The following first-year board members have completed local district orientation to the Texas Education Code, OTEC. Tasha Gore, place 7. Legal update training. The following board members have completed the legal update to the Texas Education Code and relevant legal developments after the most recent legislative sessions. Gerald Leonard, place 1. Deborah Cruz, place 2. Chad Sutton, place 3. Leslie Owens, place 4. Katie, wait a minute, I'm trying. John Browno. Katie John Browno, place 5. Gregory Hoffman, place 6. And James Hopper, superintendent. Team building, team of 8. The following board members have completed the required team building training. Gerald Leonard, place 1. Deborah Cruz, place 2. Chad Sutton, place 3. Leslie Owens, place 4. Katie John Breno, place 5. Gregory Hoffman, place 6. Tasha Gore, place 7. James Hopper, superintendent. Additional education based on framework for school board development. The following board members have completed the annual continuing education requirements. Gerald Leonard, place 1. Deborah Cruz, place 2. Chad Sutton, place 3. Leslie Owens, place 4. Katie John Browno, place 5. Gregory Hoffman, place 6. And Tasha Gore, place 7. And James Hopper, superintendent. I think I'm gonna need that water. Okay. Where did I leave off? Is that the last one? I think I did that one. Okay. Evaluating and improving student outcomes. The following board members have completed the required training on evaluating and improving student outcomes. Gerald Leonard, place 1. Deborah Cruz, place 2. Chad Sutton, place 3. Les Owens, place 4. Katie Jumbrano, place 5. I may not be able to finish this. Gregory Hoffman, place 6. Tasha Gore, place 7. James Hopper, superintendent. Okay. Sexual abuse, human trafficking, and other maltreatment of children, HB 403-86. Cybersecurity. The following board members have completed required training on sexual abuse, human trafficking, and other maltreatment of children and cybersecurity. Gerald Leonard, place 1. Deborah Cruz, place 2. Chad Sutton, place 3. Les Owens, place 4. Katie Jumbrano, place 5. Gregory Hoffman, place 6. Tasha Gore, place 7. And James Hopper, superintendent. Opens Meeting Act, Public Information Act. The following first-year board members have completed the required training on Open Meetings Act and Public Information Act. Tasha Gore, place 7. Anybody have any questions on those? Okay. We will move to item 9, the consent agenda. A is a, did I miss one?
We do need a motion on, what, accepting the, as read. Okay, I'll make a motion to accept the, school board trustee continuing education hours as presented by Mr. Owens.
Okay, we have a motion by Katie,
I'll second.
second by Tasha. All in favor? All in favor, none opposed. Motion passes. Okay. Now we'll go to item 9, consent agenda, and 9A is approved previous month's board minutes. 9B, approval of renewal of membership in Waltz Gallios Retainer Program. 9C, approval of the required summer program for English learners in kindergarten and first grade. Any of these, anybody want to take out for discussion? Okay. Anybody want to make a motion?
I make a motion, we approve the minutes as presented.
We have a motion by Greg,
I'll second.
second by Deborah. All in favor? All in favor, none opposed, motion passes.
I guess I should correct that. I just worded that, consent agenda as presented. I said minutes. Everybody. knew.
Hey, I don't have COVID, I've already had my shots.
Yes, Greg, can we restate the motion and retake that vote?
Yes.
Okay,
I'll make that, I guess I make a motion to restate the previous motion to read consent agenda as presented.
Okay, we have a motion by Greg,
A second.
second by Deborah. All in favor? Motion passes.
thank you.
All right. Let's go to item number 10, consider approval of general fund budget amendment. Ooh. Give me a chance to get a cough drop.
Pertains to the fact that Thank you. This particular budget amendment pertains to the fact that we've had some ongoing issues out by the out in the ag barn with our projects and in the interest of maintaining security and the safety of our animals that are out there. And so what we've tried to do is to we've looked. I guess we've been talking about this for a couple of years, haven't we, Mr. Moore? As far as you want to explain some of the issues we've had.
Well, initially, there was some issues of people who had no business there being there, so we were able to get the exteriors secure. And so anyone entering or leaving the facility has to go through a gate system that's got a combination lock Prior to that, the gates weren't even locked, and so we had to kind of train our parents and our students in that regards. We've developed a barn agreement with some extensive rules just to cover any of the activities that might go on at the barn. Still had some unwanted activity. Game cameras have been put in that building. I can promise you they will hold 9,999 images. There's two barn cats and a free-range chicken. And I can't tell you the number of images I have of those three because every time you walk across, it kicks the deal. In the process of efficiency and the fact that we will be able to have instantaneous, once something's reported or we can go check, to be able to pull up video to see what's going on. We had an animal injured, had some individuals who came in with someone that shouldn't have been on the property. We couldn't prove who they were, that sort of thing. So we have funds available currently that by moving them into the correct function, we'll be able to cover the expense of putting fiber all the way to the ag barn. And then comes the camera system.
Well, and again, this is one of those things that we've been trying to find ways, because the initial question was, well, you're gonna have to put fiber out there. So we've tried every way to do it but this. And so now we're back to that.
And one of the first thought processes, there's a fiber cable in the ditch right in front of that property. But the monthly cost, we looked at bridges. The initial security system out there had a bridge system that went off the high school to the barn. To install one of those bridges over the course of 3 years, it would be more expensive to pay those fees than it would to be put fiber in, and it's permanent. Yes, we're moving some money around so that we can get fiber at the ag barn. And with that fiber, it'll provide Wi-Fi, so we can upgrade a few things out there that need to be taken care of. Well, it's quite amazing. Those cats don't mess with that chicken, which is really strange. And that chicken's been out there for 3 years with multiple cats. So the cats disappear and the chicken is still there. So yeah.
All right. Anybody having questions or discussion on that?
I guess my only question is, it all makes sense as far as the math goes, but where exactly are we just kind of pulling from?
Due to the fact that our projected budget numbers didn't include COVID, some of our supplies accounts are a little higher than they should be, so we were kind of able to pull some money that we won't expend before the end of the school year.
And it won't leave us hurting at the end of the year somewhere, just because I'd hate to take away from perhaps a reserve and then an happen later.
Right. And I sat down with Rhonda and we looked at possible late expenditures. One account was not going to be expended at all this year. So that was an easy pull. We pulled some other accounts from their supply account and just looked at what our average expenditures were towards the end and a little bit of summer cost. And we have more than enough money to cover everything till next budget year.
Okay, thank you.
So in addition to this, will there be camera cost and are there other costs that go with this?
Yes, Mr. Domain is working on some camera proposals. The initial proposal was $23,000, which would be a 12 camera system that would be operated off the cloud. At this time, I'm not sure that that's completely necessary. It's really neat, this system. but just because of the expense of putting the fiber in and then adding the cameras on top of that, we're looking at some other options. But the number one thing is we have to have fiber, because the fiber links it to our system, and I can sit at my desk and pull up cameras at the ag barn, just like I can at any campus. Yes, extremely good lighting. And that's the other thing is our maintenance department has gone out and replaced a lot of the lights, especially on the front of the building as well as inside. And so we can light that place up fairly easy. And I mean, the game cameras worked well. It's just accessibility, and then say something happened on this date at about this time, scrolling through 4 different views of 9,999 images takes a little time. So
is this 22 that we're looking to maneuver? Is that inclusive of is that going to cover everything? Because I see the estimate is 19,819.
yes, we Ron and I made a determination that we were going to put a little extra in that just in case there were some unseen, undocumented cost. So that 19,000, that was the initial proposal quote that we received.
Okay. Are we going to need to expect you back for when we discuss cameras?
Yes.
Okie dokie.
Once I get a viable 3 or 4 different bids to look at what's a viable expense for that facility, the $23,000 cameras are ones that Domain was telling me. He said, yep, that'll zoom all the way up and we can read the license plate on the car pulling in the gate.
We're gonna literally be cutting hairs with it.
Yeah.
Shucks.
And so we're going to look at a couple of other options just to see which is most viable, but I will be back for cameras.
Okay, perfect, thank you.
And just so you know, the facility is empty and we won't open it up for animal usage until June, because we've got some cleaning and things to take care of out there after this cycle of animals.
Thank you.
When we start bringing animals in?
Yes, yes. I want to have the system in place prior to the arrival of the next set of animals. And we've already gotten one family that's already started purchasing animals. They have another place to keep them, at which time they're going to bring them into the barn. And that was my biggest concern is we knew things were going on, but unless you have a witness or viable means to see who that individual might be or what actually happened when, it's hard to take action against someone or some group of people.
Well, and I think, didn't we actually have some people that opted not to use the barn because of that?
Yes, and that's the other factor is we did remove some folks from the barn over multiple things outside of this, but the biggest concern with families is my animals aren't safe, and I'll find another place to keep them. That's not how you continue to build a viable program. If we have great facilities, great access, but if they aren't comfortable leaving $2,000 or $3,000 worth of animals in there, what's the use of having the building? And that those concerns were expressed to me from multiple directions. We'll have a means by which we can track it and view it real easy. And to me, just the presence of those will eliminate 99% of what we've experienced up to this point, because they know they're being watched.
I'll second.
Have a motion by me and a second by, who made that? Oh, Katie. Wasn't the name, I couldn't hear. I
It was
couldn't
just
tell
me.
that you were Deborah.
But anyways, motion and a
And
second.
a second by by Katie. All in favor? All in favor, none opposed, motion passes. Okay. Item number 11, discussion concerning change to the policy FFAC, local wellness and health services, medical treatment. Mr. Hopper and
Okay. Well, I'll speak about this a little bit, but then I think Ms. Presley has a lot more expertise to add to this as well. Want to thank Carly for actually securing this for us. Currently, we cannot dispense over-the-counter medications unless a kid brings it, puts their name on the bottle, and then the parent has a note in there, and my child can go but we can't just distribute that to other students. So what this would do is that this would enable us to do non-prescription over-the-counter standing order with the oversight of an actual physician. Physician we talked to, and again, Carly Presley set this up. We had a remote meeting with her, Dr. Michelle Beeson, and she does the same thing for Alvarado ISD. I don't know if she does it for other districts or not. But what this does is it enables us to distribute things like acetaminophen, ibuprofen, and other things on here that I cannot pronounce. But the other thing that it enables us to do is to be able to administer the EpiPen, because we would train our people to be able to do that, of course. But so the trained individuals could do that, and also administer Narcan nasal spray. And if that sounds familiar to you, the Narcan nasal spray helps a student to actually survive if they have, for some reason, taken a dose of fentanyl. And I'm going to stop there before I say something that's wrong. And Carly, can you address this in a little bit more detail for us, please?
Yes, sir. So the Narcan, it takes away the effects of opioid drugs in somebody's system and can restore normal breathing. And if an overdose happens and there's a delay in that medication getting to them or emergency response, which is normally the case, there's going to be a delay from when the incident takes place to when the ambulance arrives. We would have the ability to administer that and potentially save their life. And if it was given and they hadn't actually ingested the drug, it's not going to harm them. It might make them feel sick, like flu-like symptoms, but this is not something that's going to injure them. So it's safe in that matter. And same with epinephrine. An allergy can happen to somebody who's never known that they were allergic to something. It can be the first allergic reaction they can happen at school because they didn't know they were allergic to something. And having that EpiPen there could save their life as well, because anaphylaxis can become life-threatening in a matter of minutes. So having that standing order, I think that would prepare us for an emergency like that. And Dr. Beeson is willing to write that order for us. And then the over-the-counter medications, sometimes a student just has a headache, they didn't sleep well the night before, and their parents can't bring them any medication, they're at work, and they go on and not have a successful day because they have a headache. And if we could just have the order there, parents are okay with it, we can administer it, go back to class, have a successful day.
Thank you, Carly. So tonight, this is just a discussion item to see, talk about whether or not this is a direction we want to go. If so, we're going to need to change policy FFAC local, which talks about the wellness and health services and the way we treat that medically. So if this is something we're going to do, then we'll have to change the wording in that policy. But also, we felt like this is something we needed to be able to do to provide our kids a little bit more first responder type things for our kids. So, if anybody had any questions.
Have you talked to Stephen about this, see what our liabilities would be?
I've not talked to Mr. Dubner about this, but it's something we will before the next meeting.
Okay. Yeah, I'd be interested in see what he has to say about it.
Carly, can you speak to, besides Alvarado, other school districts that you know of that are doing this?
I know Dr. Beeson also works with Keene ISD around this area. I know Waxahachie ISD is doing something similar to this. They have the Narcan and the EpiPens there as well. A lot of districts in the area are already doing this.
Thanks, Carly. But yes, that's something we'll talk to Mr. Dubner about
Mr. Say,
regardless.
Because we're administering drugs that we haven't been able to do before. And if there's a bad outcome after we have administered the drug, what are we liable, or are we liable for anything?
That's a good question. Well, I mean, again, these are over-the-counter drugs. We're not going to do anything other than that. But that is a viable question for our attorney.
The EpiPen, that's over the counter, and the stuff for,
The EpiPen is not, but the law states that a person who in good faith administers the epinephrine in an emergency to someone they truly believe was experiencing anaphylaxis, they would not be held liable. Of course, we need to talk more about that with the attorney, but that's what the law states, the Texas Education Code.
It's the Good Samaritan law, I believe.
Yes, sir.
So,
Don't the parents have to sign off on it too? Or do they call the parents before they do this, or?
I would think that we certainly would, yeah.
Because that would keep us from being liable, right?
Well, I think anytime we can get a parent's permission on any of this, I think that's exactly the case. So what I'll do before the next board meeting then is I'll talk to Mr. Dubner about this, and we'll get a little bit more information.
okay.
Anything else specifically that you'd like to know about it? All right, thank you. Thank you, Carly.
Okay. You don't have anything else on that, Mr. Hopper? We'll move to item 12, executive session for, we're not speaking to our attorney tonight, are we? For 551-072, 551-074, 551-076. And it is now 8:53.
This is the avid teacher position.
I make a motion to approve the new position.
Motion by Tasha.
Second.
Second by Deborah. All in favor? All in favor, none opposed, motion passes. Okay, item 17, consider approval of adjusted staff contract days for designated employees.
I make a motion to approve the adjusted staff contract days for designated employees. Second.
Motion by Tasha.
Second.
Second by Deborah. All in favor? All in favor, none opposed, motion passes. Item 18, consider approval of adjusted staff contract status for designated employees.
I make a motion to approve the adjusted staff contract status for designated employees. I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion. Wait, I'm confused.
I make a
We have a motion by Tasha and I think.
Katie seconds.
Second by Katie. All in favor? All in favor, none opposed, motion passes. Okay, item 19, consider approval of staff contracts and non-renewals for 2021-2022 school year. And before we start, let's remember I have to sign all these.
I will make a motion that we, take the contracts, accept them, and reservations as presented.
Have a motion by Greg,
Second.
a second by Katie. Yeah, that's who it was. All in favor? All in favor, none opposed, motion passes. All right. Item 20, reports.
We didn't have any, no reports today, so.
Well, we can do that.
Well, you've seen the reports in your packet, so.
Does anybody have any questions on the reports? Okay, anybody wanna talk about the reports?
Only if allowed.
I'm not sure it's gonna be.
Good.
What would you like to say?
Oh, just that, our girls won 1-0 earlier, I got the text message, and they'll be playing tomorrow night here across the street for the possible district championship.
Who will they be playing?
Alvarado.
Alvarado.
Alvarado beat us in their place, so tomorrow's head-to-head, if we win, we're district champions.
Oh,
Super.
wow.
Yeah, that's good.
And they're playing where?
Right over here.
At what time?
What time?
I think it's 6 o'clock start time.
6 o'clock.
No, we lost it the first time, right? Yes. But it's really weird because we lost to Alvarado. Godly beat Alvarado. It could have got to a point where it was a 3-way tie for first. When we were at the top after we played Paris. And then tonight's win is now us head-to-head, which, we'll still get a piece of it. If Alvarado were to win, they've got us by 2 games head-to-head. We're in a playoffs regardless, but tomorrow night's the Alvarado District Championship.
It'd be better to be the district champion going into the playoffs. Sure would. Okay, if there's no further questions on the reports,
And if you didn't get to make it to the build off, it was fabulous on Saturday.
Are there pictures?
I've got the pictures, but, I'll put together a little presentation and get it out.
hey, that sounds like a good idea.
Fantastic.
I'm telling you.
And
Let's go to item 21, board request for additional items. Anybody want any additional? And the next scheduled board meeting will be May 17th, 2021. Item 22, we will adjourn at 10:11.